So welcome to our class, fundraising. Oops, I think I went too far. Nope, that's it. Fundraising, the rules, ideas, and challenges. I'm Shauna Straw, the 2019-2021 Leadership Services Director for 9th District PTA, and I will be the 2021-2023 Treasurer for 9th District PTA. I'm joined by Danae Sinise. Hi, Danae, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Danae Sinise. I'm with Escondido Council, and I'm a member of the 9th District Leadership Team. And I am the incoming Financial Secretary for the 9th District PTA.
Thank you, Danae. We will be covering several topics in this presentation. We will go over the rules we need to follow as a PTA, as well as a nonprofit entity in the state of California. We will talk about hot topics such as alcohol at events and raffles. We'll talk briefly about the various types of fundraisers we usually find in our schools, and then kind of do a reality check of fundraising as we move out of our stay-at-home orders and our COVID crisis. So if we're not a fundraising organization, what do we do? So PTA at every level is an advocacy organization that works on behalf of children, not only in California, but across the country. In the past, we've advocated for the content rating system to inform parents about what video games their children were playing, laws that protected young children from being used as child labor, free and reduced lunch programs, a variety of health issues, and most importantly, family engagement. The reality is, though, at the school level, we do fundraise in order to bring more educational experiences to the students of that school. We can't make up for all the budget issues a particular school may have, but we try our best to fill in some gaps here and there. We plan the PTA programs first, and then we plan to raise the funds to support those programs. And so how does that work? So first of all, you should start a committee, and that committee meets and talks about ideas, makes some plans, and then moves on to start making sure their great ideas are going to fly. So you want to talk to the principal, the school administration, teachers, make sure that you aren't going to take up too much of their school time, that it's actually feasible on that site. There could be reasons why a certain fundraiser you would like to hold is not something the school community can support. You'll also need to make sure the executive then check with the insurance company. The insurance company has a list of fundraisers that are perfectly okay to hold. You might even get ideas from checking with the insurance company. In case there's an injury or a money loss claim, if you've held something that is not okay with the insurance, then your claim may not be honored. So that's why they're also important to check with. Then you would take it to the executive board, and they would approve the activity, the event, the fundraising plan. And then ultimately, last but not least, you need to let your members that have joined your PTA know which we're planning and get their approval. And this is not just for things that raise money. This is anything the PTA plans. This is actually a good way to approve anything that the PTA wants to do. Okay, so our insurance broker is AIM, which stands for Association Insurance Management Incorporated. They are extremely knowledgeable, as well as helpful in making sure our units don't do things that could void the insurance coverage of the PTA. If you are uncertain about an event you're trying to host, make sure you start with them and give them all the details, and they'll let you know whether this is a good or bad idea. And Danae's just put this in the chat for us, their website, this is actually the California State PTA website, the insurance page, that has all kinds of resources on there. The actual book, the insurance guide, is mailed out in the fall. So probably October-ish for the 22-23 year. Our insurance is actually a calendar year. So right now you're in the 21 insurance year, and it'll go until the end of December, and then it starts over again. So then you'll get a new guide for that next year. There are many important documents located in this book, and if you don't know where the book is in your PTA, it's also on this website. So you can download the waiver forms, incident report forms, guidelines, all of that is on this website as well as in the guide. And make sure you share this with the rest of your board so that they understand when the committee comes back and says, no, we can't really do this, they have a resource to understand why this should not be undertaken. So when you're going to enter into a contract with a company to do something for you, if you don't follow these rules about how to get the contract signed properly, you yourself could end up being personally liable. So make sure the contract is brought to the association at a meeting. You don't need to read the whole contract, but you should, talk about the highlights. We're agreeing to work with this company. They're going to give us this percentage of the profits, or we're selling this for this amount, whatever highlights you need to go through. Costs, deadlines, and the date you could cancel and not incur any costs, or some other important things. 2 board members over the age of 18 need to sign the contract. One of them should be the president, must be the president. And then that signed contract should be given to the treasurer so that he or she can keep track of any payments. The secretary includes it in the minutes. And then whoever is running that event would also get a copy of the contract. And you want to sign the contract as the PTA. So that makes the PTA responsible. If I just put Shauna Straw on the contract, then that means I'm the one that's agreeing to that contract. So, XYZ PTA by Jane Doe, and then put your title and the years that you are president. So that way there's no question as to who is signing this. There's that. So we do need to be careful about when we take money from an organization, a business, as to how we thank them. We do not endorse businesses. If we do and we make money off of that, then the IRS could consider that income as taxable income. We don't want that to happen. We want to make sure it stays as a donation. We also don't want to endorse a business because it violates our non-commercial policy, which is one of the important rules of being a 501c3. So these are 2 examples of how to thank someone who has supported the PTA. And you can see that, sponsorship means, thanks to Joe's Pizza for donating all the pizza for our hungry volunteers at the Jogathon on Thursday. And then the endorsement is that Joe's Pizza is the best pizza place in the whole city. And we thank them for donating to feed our hungry volunteers at the Jogathon on Thursday. So the difference is that you are saying that they're great. If you're just thanking them, then you don't have an opinion about that business. You're just thanking them for supporting the PTA. So you don't make any value judgments, because our endorsement could make people go shop there. So that's why we're avoiding that. So the 3-to-1 guideline we talk about a lot in PTA, and this is actually, our purpose does not say to just go out and fundraise. Our purpose as a PTA is to improve the lives of children and families. So we can fundraise to support that purpose. And that is why PTA has come up with the 3-to-1 guideline, meaning that every time you do one fundraiser, you have 3 non-fundraising type events that you support with that. So but just because you make money at something does not necessarily make it a fundraiser. If you had a family fun night and you had a snack bar there, then the PTA might make some money off of that event, but that's still a program. A fundraiser is something that has nothing to do with your purpose. Selling wrapping paper is nowhere in our purpose for being a PTA. So that is a true a true fundraiser. Same with, cookie dough or whatever. So these are all ideas to have an event that is not a fundraiser, so that you aren't just doing fundraisers. And when you do a an event that involves money. Again, these are money handling procedures when we are back on a school site and we are, taking in money at an event. So, and even if they're mailing it in, you should still follow money handling procedures. But this is obviously way more important when you're at an event and there's a lot of cash being taken in. If we are allowed in any way to go back on campus when school starts and have events, then obviously make sure you are following all the health department guidelines or the school requirements for distancing or masking or all of those things. So always count in a secure location. You shouldn't be announcing like, hey, we're going to go over to the cafeteria and start counting money. Try to be, but always have two people. They are not ever related either by blood, marriage, or live in the same household. So if it's your sister-in-law, even if she lives across town, you and your sister-in-law cannot go count money. Use the cash verification form, which we have a form for, and Danae has put that up there as well. You can find all of this in the handling PTA funds. But truly a piece of paper, as long as you've got all captured, a big piece of paper, not a little sticky note so that it doesn't get lost. And if you're one of the people counting, take a picture of that so that you have proof of what you signed and what you agreed the amount was. Make sure everyone who's counted the money has signed the paperwork and then secure it in a locked location. Ideally, if you're gonna not go straight to the bank with it, which is the best case scenario, count the money and someone goes straight to the bank. Realize that's not always possible. So if you're going to leave it on campus in a locked place, make sure whoever is taking it from you also verifies the amount, signs for it. Ideally, you get a receipt. We did have a quick question about who should not be handling money. And really, as long as you've got an officer there, ideally, it's the chair of the event. It doesn't have to be the treasurer, but that would be another, if one of them is the treasurer, ideally they'd be members of the PTA that are counting money. So that it's more worried about the being related part that you're trying to avoid. So there's that. And okay, I'm going to finish off with alcohol. So we haven't been having large events for over a year now, but going forward, if you come up with an event that you think you might want to have alcohol at, then there are rules to be followed. Again, you should be discussing this with your principal. Take a hard look at whether this is necessary in your community to have an event that includes alcohol. But so should you decide that is the way forward, then first of all, make sure it's not on the school campus. There is very few tiny exceptions that allow any type of alcohol on school district property. So it would have to be off-site. You want to make sure that the PTA is not selling the alcohol, that you have contracted with a licensed group to sell the alcohol. The PTA is not paying for that alcohol. That is I never get this right, the no host bar. You want to make sure that your attendees go over and spend their own money on buying the alcohol and the PTA has nothing to do with it. We're just over here. And they want to make sure they have the permits and all the license and insurance necessary to serve alcohol. And again, the PTA funds not purchasing the alcohol would be that you're not saying, oh, if you get in, we're going to give you one drink ticket, because then that would be the PTA buying that drink. So it's like, nope, it's over there. We'll give you a soda if you want, but we're not gonna go into the alcohol part. But gift baskets have also become another way to give alcohol. And there is now a permit that is necessary in order to be able to put this, put alcohol into a gift basket. So you, even if you've had it donated, which we highly recommend, that the PTA doesn't go out and buy alcohol to put in the basket, it would be donated by someone. There is still a permit that you need to apply for, and then you can put alcohol into a gift basket. And again, you can have PTA you can have alcohol at a PTA event, but it would be off campus, and make sure you have the right people running the alcohol sales. Okay, and so now that I've dealt with alcohol, I'm going to let Danae take over about raffles, because that's another popular subject.
Hi. Yes, one of my favorite subjects. Raffles are very confusing, and one of the reasons is because, yeah.
You bring your video back up?
Yes.
We can see you.
Now can you see me? There we go. Okay. I think raffles are confusing just because we tend to label them the wrong thing. So the rules are easy. If everyone has an opportunity to win and they have not had to pay anything, then that would be like an opportunity drawing, or what you would call a door prize. And I know those have been going on even online for Zoom meetings. That's been pretty fun. But if you have to pay for an opportunity to win, then that's a raffle. So I know a lot of units have just stopped doing the raffle thing because of all this stuff I'm going to talk about in a minute. So if you're just doing door prizes, etc., you don't have to do any of these things that I'm going to mention. So if you're going to do a true raffle where you are asking people to pay for an opportunity to win something, you have to actually get a permit for raffles, and it's from the Attorney General from the state of California. And I think, yep, Shauna just dropped in the link in the chat for that. And what's interesting about the permit is the time frame does not coincide with either the PTA fiscal year or the calendar year. It runs September 1st through August 31st. And the cost is $20 for the permit. And you do have to keep track of your raffles because you have to do a report at the end of the year. And that is due on October 1st. And the report has to be filed even if you didn't do any raffles after you filed for the permit. And if you don't do this, it will catch up with you later. Sometimes it takes even a year or two, but you don't want this missed raffle report to affect your charitable status in a year down the road. So if you go this route, make sure that somebody's keeping up with the paperwork, please. All right, so now we get to talk about the different kinds of fundraisers that you can do. Somebody had a question in the chat earlier about restaurant nights or dine outs. And the nice thing about that is that's in a different category, and we will get to that in a couple slides. So direct sales would be a catalog sale where you're actually selling products. You want to make sure that what you're selling is appropriate for the time of year. You definitely want to look at all of the logistics, how the delivery works, how can people pay, how is the product being delivered, how are the prizes being delivered. There are a lot of companies now that package that stuff all pretty nicely, and some do not. So make sure you get all that information ahead of time. And then another category is direct donations. And I do know of some schools who have done this and have done it well. And a lot of times it's just something online. And you can even attach a donation button on, there's actually a category in My PTEZ, if you're using that for an additional payment. You can process donations through that website. And typically, a direct donation is, the school saying, okay, we're going to ask you once a year for money, and this is how you can pay us. And it really helps if you have a specific goal that you can communicate about, and the time frame, and you can offer prizes in a donation setting too to help motivate people. The direct donations are nice because the whole amount stays with the school. And if you really don't want to sell wrapping paper or something else, sometimes parents are more receptive to the idea of just giving the money and being done with it for the year. And then there are some great indirect fundraisers. I know schools that put out a flyer at the beginning of every year that talk about the sort of passive ways that you can make money for the PTA. And those are things like Amazon Smiles, or certain grocery stores will still, if you turn in receipts, they'll give the school a little bit of money. Restaurant nights is another one. And that's a nice way to fundraise because it's also a community event. It's a chance for people to just get together and be social. And people always have the option of doing it or not. And then another one that's kind of cool is a collection drive where you're collecting electronics or shoes or blankets, and some of them will give an amount back to the PTA based on the weight or whatever. And again, just make sure you get all the specifics of that ahead of time, but I know some of those have been very successful. And then the next thing is events. And these can be really big and great ways to make money. Oh, and somebody just put in the chat about box tops. We knew a lot of schools that did box tops, and then when it went electronic, not so much. So I don't know if people are still doing it. Not in my area necessarily, but it is a great way to make money if you have the electronic thing with that. So back to events. Events are things like jogathon, readathon, dance-a-thon, dinner dances, silent auctions, some sort of a school carnival. These take a lot of labor, a lot of organization. So if you're going to tackle something like this, make sure you have enough bodies to get the work done. Otherwise, I know that's why some schools just do the catalog fundraiser, because it takes a lot less people to actually get it done. These are very labor intensive, but I know schools where they do one event like a jogathon, and that's their fundraiser for the year because it makes so much money. And there are companies that do some of those as well. Yeah, and those events take a lot of planning, so make sure you are well organized. Okay, so the next topic is grants. Grants can be intimidating to a lot of people. I've seen grants where, you know, the documentation is hundreds of pages, but that would not be the kind of grant that your PTA would be doing probably. The first place to look is all the levels of PTA, 9th District, California PTA, National PTA. They all offer grants every year. And some of the things to look for are who they will fund, not the PTA grants necessarily, but company grants. Sometimes they will only pay a school and they won't pay a PTA. Some of them have specific requirements, like they will give you money, but then you have to match the funds and show that you've spent that money as well. Make sure you know what all the requirements are. Make sure you know what all the deadlines are. There's usually a specific date for spending the money and another specific deadline for whatever report that you have to turn in. You definitely want to have a plan. If you're going after big money, you can have a grant committee. You can have several people trying to find grants that fit what you want to do. There are a lot of grants out there for just, you know, say $400, $500, $600, $800 that might do what you need it to do. And then make sure that somebody is responsible for the paperwork and the finance side of a grant, and make sure that you meet all the requirements. And here are some keywords that you can search for if you're looking for grants. And another one that we've seen in our community is for employees of certain companies. CarMax was one of the ones at one time. So if you have someone in your community who pipes up and says, you know, I can get a grant because I'm an employee at this company, research those and see if you can take advantage of things like that. Oh, so now we get to talk about the year that we've had and what we can look forward to this next year. The reality is we still have people who are maybe either out of work or are making less income than they did before. We've just come off a year where the fundraisers probably did way less than what we expected them to, or we just knew that they were going to bring in a lot less money. Please be conscious of those things this year coming up as well. Just be conscious of asking for your community to give a lot of money when maybe you can rearrange your programs and not ask for as much. And when you're budgeting, it would be a good idea to lowball the amount of income that you think you're going to receive. And if you make more money, great. I know some schools have tried to do more fundraisers in a year thinking that's a better option. And then they find out that if they do more fundraisers, they actually get less income per fundraiser. So it might be better to just do one for the year and be done with it. You want to be careful about how the community perceives, you know, if you're constantly asking for money, maybe that's not the impression you want to give for your PTA. And then also be aware, we still may have some restrictions as far as how many people can be gathered for a while. You may not be able to do a giant event where you have 400 people in your little NPR at your school. So be aware of those things. And then, you know, as far as resources and ideas and things that are working right now, talk to the other units in your area. Brainstorm with other units within your council if you belong to a council. You can ask people at 9th District PTA about ideas or things that we've heard about that have worked. And, oh, and then, yes, there's the internet too. And that's it. I would say just, yeah, make sure that what you're asking actually fits what you think your community can support for next year, please. And then, so at this point, we would like to open it up for questions. You can put things in the Q&A box and we will try to answer them. And there are a couple things.
Yeah, there's a couple. And just again, if after you've watched this, and maybe you're not watching it with us right now, so maybe you watched it again in a week, or it's now August and you're watching this, then please send us an email. You can find Danae and I both at the treasurer. I'll be happy to share the questions with Danae at treasurer@9thdistrictpta.org. Danae obviously has had a lot more recent experience in the Escondido area than I've had in a school in a while. So she's a great resource for ideas. The two questions that we had, one of these was, and this is a touchy one though. If you offer a prize drawing for people joining as members, is that considered an opportunity drawing or is it a raffle? Since people had to buy a membership for a chance to win, I would err on the side of caution with that and do the raffle permit, because yes, they did have to buy a membership in order to be included. So a true opportunity drawing is no money changes hands in order to be able to participate in that. And then someone else asked about thoughts on fun runs with the big organizations. And so I'll speak to not using that. Again, back in the dark ages when my children were in elementary school, we had a giant jogathon day. It was in the spring. We were there for hours. There was probably, gosh, we had to have had 30 parents that were helping at any given moment. And we'd do shifts and all the grades would participate. I mean, so it was a big day and it was very exciting. And we had lots, like I said, it was lots of involvement. It was a whole big event. But again, 30 parents were hanging out at the school for half the day. So if you don't, you know, if you don't have that resource, then and Danae, maybe I think a couple people have used one of the companies in Escondido. I don't know what the cut is on that. Is it 40% maybe that you get out of that? I mean, you have to decide whether it's worth the.
Right. Yes, there is at least one school here in town that uses one of the big jogathon organizations, and it works really well for them, and it ties into the school's fitness goals.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those companies where someone comes in for like every day for 2 weeks and talks to the kids and gets them pumped up. And yeah, it's a big money maker. And yeah, they decided like 8 years ago that they couldn't get the result that this company could. So yeah,
So,
I would take a look at both.
Yeah, knowing your population.
Uh-huh.
Again, I loved being there. Our school did a science fair or science day, where again, the whole school, we were shifting classes. We had parents teaching, you know, science in different rooms. It was quite the undertaking. So if you have those resources, and it makes it fun. It was great to be there as a volunteer, to be participating in those things. Even the jogathon, you know, we stood there with our tally marks as the kids ran by, and I could stand there and talk to the other moms while we were in between laps. And, you know, again, that was a big fun day, but not everybody had the ability to do that. So, and I know that a lot of the classrooms and schools have done like running club type of things, again, around the school wellness policies.
Right.
So if you're doing something like that, and then maybe it leads up to a thon, then that's a possibility. And then again, back to this, you know, reality check. If you have been doing some Zoom online events, or not even necessarily Zoom, just online events, that maybe you can continue some of those, and they're not going to be as expensive as hosting an event on campus. So, you know, you can be providing those resources to your community, your families, without having to have too much of a cost associated with it. So,
Shauna, is your video on?
Oh gosh, did I disappear again?
You're not on screen.
Okay, yeah, I'm supposed to be.
Okay. We do have a question in the chat about suggestions for promoting fundraisers, and what could be done if you don't feel like you're getting the participation you should. I mean, I've seen all sorts of crazy things, from, you know, somebody standing on the curb handing out a slip of paper to every car that drives by. Hey, remember, this is going on tonight. I think it's very helpful to, if your principal will allow it, that you're promoting it with the kids and getting the kids pumped up so that they're going home and talking about it. Again, if the principal allows you to do that. Some of the fundraising companies actually do a separate meeting for kids, a little assembly where they get them all jazzed about whatever's going on and what prizes they can get. And I would suggest, if you're running a jogathon or something like that yourselves, that you're also doing something like that, just to keep the kids really excited about it. I mean, other ways of promoting now, Facebook obviously is a great one. I think you get a different audience on Facebook than you do maybe talking to the people at the curb at school, or maybe you hit them both ways. Shauna, what else can you suggest?
I was gonna say, yeah, your social media now is, you know, again, we've always had this problem of how do you catch all of the parents? Word of mouth works well, but yeah, if your school or your principal has a pretty good following on Instagram or Twitter, whatever they've found successful, you might want to follow suit and either ask them to promote it in their social media contacts, or create your own. I know we had a school in January that every week the principal was doing the weekly email blast or weekly message blast, and included a link of how to join the PTA, and they had 100 members in 4 weeks join their PTA in January because it was in the principal email, or what, it was the contact. It's not just email. It goes out in all different formats. It posts to the Facebook page, it goes on the website, and I think you also can sign up to get it via email. So I'm sorry, I'm still a dark screen. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to your screen. Well, and then to make sure the staff is involved and informed with what your goals are, et cetera, they can be very helpful too.
All right. Well, we must have answered all their questions, Danae.
Yep. Nope, there aren't any others.
Planning to do something fun.
That's right.
Again, just because you make money doesn't make it a fundraiser. So maybe focus on the fun in fundraising, and make it, really about bringing the community together more so than just how much money we can get out of them. But
right, and connecting the community back to the school this next year will be a big goal.
Tiny bit optimistic that people will be so thrilled to be out of their houses that they will be happy to do anything you ask them to do.
Yeah.
That's my Pollyanna view of things. So unfortunately, I'm recording this and everybody will be able to tell me I'm wrong in 4 months, but I can edit that part out. Somebody asked about the slides. So yes, you can watch this again at any speed. You could mute us and just look at slides. You can do screenshots. So that is the beauty of these webinars. It's not just a one and done thing. You can visit Danae and I all summer long.
Yeah.
So I think if we don't have any other questions.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for being here with us.
Yes.
And please reach out to us if you have more questions or if we can help you with planning or budgeting, any of that kind of stuff. We're happy to help.
I do hope to have a webinar on budgeting soon. So
right.
work on that one next.
Okay.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. Thanks, you all.